So, hey guys, Chauzu here. Since we have the data download now, I can start doing my traditional pre-big Sugo series of breaking down every new character in detail. So it's going to be 5 videos the coming days. Now we'll start with the new Super Sugo Gear 5 Luffy, V2 Gear 5 Luffy to be exact. Tomorrow I'll probably talk about Roger and the Shanks Super Sugo, and then on Saturday we'll talk about the 6+ Luffy as well as the Ace. So yeah, let's jump right into it. We're going to talk about what Luffy does, who you can use him with, and how he works in PvP. I must say that in the making of this video, my opinion of this unit has gone down a bit, and it's not really thanks to him. I think he's absolutely insane. It's more like what options do you have to work with him in team building, and there are some very limiting factors as you'll see later. But first, let's talk about Luffy himself. And Luffy is a int fighter powerhouse. Kid and Law is in the art, but they are not part of the unit. Like you can see in the EX, you can put Kid and Law on the team. You're not blocked from using them. Can be a bit confusing, but that's how it works. And yeah, Luffy has critical hit potential ability. It's the best one, so we take that. It's not a big damage increase, but it's better than a bad crit at least. Shipbind is cool, but I would have preferred if Shanks had it. He doesn't have it, by the way, which is weird. Luffy has a rush. We'll talk about that later. So yeah, let's start with the captain ability. So Luffy's unique ability is that he reduces the switch effect and versus effect by 3 at the start of the quest. Reducing switch by 3 is insane and will age really well. As long as it stays unique to Luffy, of course. If a lot more units start to get it, then it's not as valuable anymore. Right now, this is like the big thing Luffy has that makes him stand out. VS reduction is a bit more troublesome, as we'll look at later. He also reduces int fighter and powerhouse characters CD by 2 at start of quest, which is nice. But sadly, like a lot of recent Super Sugos, Luffy has insane CD at 15 if you have a key. Without a key, it's 16. It's unfortunate that they do this, but it is what it is. He gives them a 6 times attack boost, 6.25 times attack after 3 perfects, 1.35 times HP, everything else gets 4.5 times attack, in tandem slots and matching slot effects, and reduces Cruise the Spear by 10 turns. So yeah, this is a pretty straightforward unit, like outside of the swap reduction. It's just a pretty classic unit with good attack boost, some matching orb, some utility. It's nothing crazy happening. So that might be good or bad depending on what side you come from. Like for people like me, like the more crazy the better almost, as long as it's not busy work. But for people not as good as the game, which is the majority of the player base, then it can be great to just it not be overly complicated, especially not for a big event like Annie. Also, if someone uses a special to boost attack, you extend the duration of that effect by 1 turn. And Luffy does a 2-turn attack boost. That means that Luffy's captain, you see a special, becomes a 3-turn attack boost, which is obviously really good. If the character is a captain and performs excellent for the action special, which will happen if you use his special only as a captain, not friend captain, then you get a 6.5 times attack boost instead, which is some certified power creep from the 6 times. Like 6 times wasn't standard for a long time. It still felt special to have a 6 times captain. So 6.5 times is a huge leap, but it was the expected leap as well. With that, we can look at the super before the special. And here I want to discuss the first troubling aspect of this unit. He needs 3 specific units for the EX, And there's many, and there's a lot of these units in the game. But I want to remind you, what does Luffy boost? It's Int Fighter Powerhouse. Like, look at these units. How many great Int Fighter Powerhouse can you come up with? Int is of course the most easiest one, but still it's often a class that is mostly put on like evil units. So of the Straw Hats, like, they get the least Int units by far, but thankfully quite a few anyway. We'll look at some good options later, but building for the EX will be rough, trying to fit 3 of these. Like, the new Gold Roger will help, of course, the new Ace will help, but yeah, the list goes thin. I also forgot about Shanks, of course. I didn't look him up when I was investigating. But yeah, if you manage to pull off the feat of using the EX, you get a 30% heal that can overheal. And if character's first class is Cerebral or Shooter, you change their first class to Fighter. This basically opens up a lot more units to being used with Luffy that happen to not be Int Fighter or Powerhouse, but has a first class as Cerebral or Shooter. And this is one of those things where we basically have to do some digging, and this is not just for Luffy, but all the new units. Like, what potential options do we have? Like, it would be great to have an in-game filter for first class, just to try and work that out with these units. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and also lets Luffy work with the new badge as we discussed, even if it's not a perfect synergy. You also get a color affinity boost for Int Fighter Powerhouse 2.5 times for 2 turns, and you get Super Int and Super Fighter. So I do like that they are trying to buff some bad classes. Like, okay, Fighter is definitely bad, which is a joke since both Sanji and Luffy has so many fighters, but they still are the by far worst class in the game. Mostly because, yeah, they do get fighters, but they never focus on the fighter aspect, but this Luffy does, so he will be a huge boon to Fighter. Powerhouse has a lot of units, but they're mostly focused around the evil side with Kaido and all of that, which obviously don't have a great synergy with the Straw Hat aspect that is needed for the EX Super, so yeah. And then it's called an action special. I didn't notice that it was called an action special. It's actually really cool that they didn't make this a potential ability. It makes this Annie a lot more chill than the last 3 ones where we debuted a new OP ability over and over. Honestly, action special, I should make a video about it sometime, but it doesn't feel like a big deal. The buffs are pretty small. But you do a lot of damage to all enemies. You delay, ignoring full immunity, which is nice, but Luffy has no conditional. He might have some support, but like delay conditional supports are rare. I should have checked that before the video, but I don't think he does. He also reduces bind by 10 turns, which is cool since he resists the spear. Obviously, the unfortunate thing is that bind is often put on the captains, so he can't remove bind if he's binded, of course. But yeah, like in the rare situation where like the bind is for the crewmates only, that would be cool. Or if you use Luffy as a crewmate, why not? Reduces threshold by 10 turns, so it's some good utility. Like, the annoying things in general with units who just remove threshold or death up or damage reduction, like just one of them, it basically never is just one of them. It's usually 2 of them or 3 of them, and you need to do a puzzle like fitting it anyway, and in the end you just use something like Robin Jinbei to remove all of it at one go. Like, okay, they can't remove the death up, but you get my point. They can remove 2 at least. And Robin Jinbei is actually one of the units you can use for the EX, by the way. Changes cruise class including block to int, and you can only get int orbs or block orbs for 2 turns. And yeah, well, type orbs can only be int at least. So yeah, I guess it's fine. Like, one troubling aspect with this unit is like, how do you get tandem orbs for super tandem? And like, Roger is a potential good option, of course, but not the only one. If crew has attack boost when special is launched, you boost crew's base attack by plus 2000 for 2 turns. Then you boost int fighter powers carries attack up to 4 times. So basically it does an attack boost. If you already have an attack boost, you get a base attack boost instead, so the special doesn't go to waste. but it doesn't have to go to waste since you can buff another special as well. We get to that. But yeah, with action special you get a minimum of 3.5 times attack. The max is 4 times, and honestly the difference between 3.5 and 4 is not that big. And like, you can skip the action special and get it random, and most of the time it will be 3.7 and above. Miss is very unlikely. So that's probably what I'm going to do myself most of the time, unless I really need the 4 times attack, which will be rare. And then we have the new ability of further increasing the effect of orb boost by 1.5 times. And as you see, you can buff up to 6 times, which is just so dumb. Like, 4 times in itself is very strong. Like, as I've talked about a lot, we have a unit like V2 Sengoku, used a lot in Treasure Map, and he gives 4.5 times attack to one single unit, and he's been effing king of Treasure Map among hard rankers. And now we just say F that, we're getting 4 times for everything, and also we're going to get it to 6+ potentially as well, so 6 times. So yeah, it's insane. So yeah, basically with Luffy, like the EX, Color Affinity, Special Attack Boost. So you need something to handle Orb, and even if it's not the best Orb boost, like, let's say, like, it sounds dumb, but let's say 3 times Orb boost, like, it's still 3 times 1.5, so that's still a very good number. Having a hard time processing in my head, like, is it about 3.5? It is below 4 times at least. It's between 3.5 and 4 times Orb boost if you have a 3 times Orb boost. So yeah, that's going to be really strong anyway. So this Luffy adds a lot of damage by himself, and has utility, and helps with speed. So yeah, like, on paper there's not much to complain about, for sure. Extra base stats in tandem matching, like, it's not bad. Reduce CD by 1/3 of request, one of the best abilities, makes them a potential sub as well. Let's talk about the rush then. I've been comparing with older rush units because, let's be real, I don't understand these numbers. I can only compare with what I've experienced with other units. But basically, from my comparison, like, we have a first tap variant and a 6 tap variant. So the first tap variant is more like Sanji, making the other stronger. The 6 tap variant is more like 6+ Gear 5 Luffy, hitting hard yourself, basically being a final tap. And yeah, they are a bit different. Like, you don't get as much extra damage from the first, while the 6 gives a lot more. To use this, you still need to fulfill the EX requirement, which you should try to do anyway when using these units. So yeah, it has synergy in that way. And for my comparison with Sanji and Gear 5 Luffy, it's basically identical. Like, the first tap is basically the same as Sanji, except it's in fighter powerhouse instead of strength X quick. And 6 tap is basically 6+ Gear 5 Luffy, but it's for well, you can't hit with Rainbow Affinity, like, you can't hit everything for super effectiveness, so to say. So, but of course, if you hit into a Psy enemy, it's going to be like using the rush of Gear 5 Luffy. That's how I seen it. The only thing I'm wondering about is the, you see this there, there's something called rush multiplier, and for the other rush units I've looked at, it's been 0.1. On Luffy, it's always 0.01 or 0.05, and that 0.05 is 0.5 for Gear 5 Luffy. So I'm not sure how much that will affect it. It sounds like a big difference, but will it be in practice? Like, if someone knows how the rush math works, feel free to let me know. But I don't know if this is a super big deal or not. Like, how much are we talking in damage? Like, I don't know why Bandai made rush so complicated. Like, it didn't have to be complicated. Like, just add a multiplier like Super Tandem. You don't need to do all of these weird chain stuff and everything. But, like, yeah, that's another video. Okay. Support, also pretty cool. Int type, Mugis, or Law or Kid. And if they use an ore boost, you buff it by 1.2 times. But you can't get higher than 3 times, which is fair, I guess. But yeah, this will really be one of those supports you can just slash on some teams to do a bit extra damage. Will probably be good in stuff like Pyro King Avengers and such. Lots of these that can use it, like Robin Koala, Robin Nami. There's some laws and stuff that can use it as well. So yeah, pretty cool. With that, already 15 minutes, but let's keep going. With that, let's look at some units to use with Luffy. And I wanted to focus on utility partners at first. So captains that can help Luffy resist stuff, like Luffy himself, resist the spear. So pairing it with something else that resists stuff is very helpful in team building. But there's just not a lot when you look at Int Fighter Powerhouse, like Int, like has been evil stuff, mostly focuses on high damage rather than utility. And then yeah, Fighter and Powerhouse just has a bad track record. Powerhouse is basically the same as Int, mostly evil, not focused on utility, focused on damage. So, and Fighter of course has a lot of Luffy, but like there is limits to Luffy, like you can only run 2. But yeah, we have 3, I focused on Int first, and we have 3 potential Int utility captains here. We have Ace first, resisting special bind, special reverse, really cool of course, always nice to use. Also Fighter Booster, also helps with the EX Super. Main negative is that he does attack boost or call affinity, which is 2 stuff that Luffy can already do, which is unfortunate. Robin Koala, really good. First, the fact that they are a duo unit, so they do get that super swap reduction. So they have a 4 swap, so that becomes a 1 swap. So yeah, that makes it very easy to set up their super swap. And they do a 3-turn ore boost, can even set up a bigger color affinity than Luffy can do, if you fancy that, and resist special reverse as captain. And then we have the Yamato, who just got level limit break, which is cool, who can resist bind, while Luffy resists the spear, which is a good combo. Have the increased damage taken from full immunity, stuff like that. But then I couldn't find any other good utility caps, so I want to showcase a combo I've been talking about in my Discord. It's not me who came up with it, by the way, but we've been talking about it. But yeah, basically it's using, it's not Atlas, what is the name again? Let me check. Lilith, that's right, okay. So Lilith and Pudding combo, really cool with Luffy. Basically, what you do is you use Luffy's special, set up the 4 times attack, then you maybe use, I think it's Shanks, that can make it 6 times. Then what you can do is use Pudding, and you can stash that buff, so you can reapply it later. Then you use Lilith, who stacks the attack boost, so that 6 times attack boost becomes a 5 times attack boost. But you can apply another attack boost, and then you can use Pudding again, bringing back the 6 times attack boost. So you have a 6 times attack boost, 5 times attack boost. Lilith also puts out an ore boost with the special. It's a 2.75 times ore boost, which is pretty crazy. You have the Luffy color affinity. Shanks also, or no, Shanks can't buff it. Like, I'm still getting used to all of this, but of course one issue is that, is there an issue? No, I don't think it's an issue. It sounds really strong. Of course there's other buffs you have to fit, but like on paper, like even the possibility of doing a 6 times attack boost and a 5 times attack boost on the same team sounds insane. Like even with Lilith announced, if you told me that would be happening within a few months, I would have said you're effing crazy. Like that's never going to happen. Not never, but not in the near future. So moving on to Fighter and Powerhouse, and honestly I kind of despaired here, at least when focusing on utility captains, because there was not much good to find, so I had to mix it up a bit. But yeah, if we start with Fighter, we can take Carrot first. Like Carrot can do an ore boost, helps Luffy, can help with defensive effects on one stage as 1 or 2 stages as well, so could be good in theory. Luffy, I could have chosen many Luffys here. I went with gear 5. And the thing is that, yeah, he does attack boost, can do orbits with shells, but the main thing that gear 5 does is that he makes all buffs rainbow, which makes it a lot more realistic to use the full batch together, because no matter if you use Luffy or Shanks or Ace as captain, they can give their class to the others. And then they can work together, but their specials don't work together. But Luffy makes their specials rainbow, so you can use it very easily. He also can, well, it doesn't help that much more than that. Can maybe do increased damage taken if the enemy doesn't have full immunity. But yeah, that's a cool thing with him. And also a potential rainbow rush to use for damage. Blackbeard, pretty cool captain, also does the war boost we need and ignores defensive effects. Can be hard to, or can be impossible to get Blackbeard's super and Luffy's EX, like that isn't happening. But and then we have some damage combo, like you can do the Rush Kaido combo with the Tobi Roppo, which is pretty cool, and then you can set up for a big Luffy rush in the end, for example. But yeah, that kind of doesn't work since Kaido probably already does the rush, but I'm trying here. There's not much to work with. Then some other potential units to help with damage. Luffy crew is interesting. I talked about him in the Roger video before. But this Luffy crew is getting a bit of a revival because he works great with like everything except for Shanks. Works with the Luffy as well for same reasons as stated with the 6+ gear 5. Here he can also help potentially with orbs, with the rainbow orbs, could be neat. Also with buff extension, which could also be pretty neat to carry buffs over. Like imagine carrying over a 6+ attack, 6+ orb and everything to the next stage. And then it can also help with the final tap, which just adds the damage all over again. And he has some utility with ignoring resilience with the final tap and the super swap, which is also helped by Luffy. So I think that's a pretty funny combo. Bonnie, just a cool captain friend with Luffy, doesn't help with utility but with damage, applying increased damage taken, applying weakened, really solid buffs. Kaido can also increase damage taken. Big Mom can let you stack conditionals. We have Black and Mirai ulti for another conditional and a swap that Luffy helps with. Then I just want to highlight some potential units to use with the EX. And yeah, just take a look. There's some solid units here, but some are like, yeah, you're probably not using those, at least not for high damage. So remember, you have to put potentially 3 of these. Like maybe something can be a friend captain or something, like, but it has to be, like I have some pages here, like there's some good units here, like Robin and Nami, but like Kid and Law doesn't have many. We have the Kid and Law Super Sugo, but he doesn't attack, they do an attack boost, that doesn't really help here. And Robin Jinbe has said, like Roddy Viper doesn't really help. The new Roger helps, of course. And yeah, like you see the Ace and Saba I put, like the new Ace helps, of course. But yeah, there's not a lot of other stuff. There's not many options with Luffy. Using the EX will be rough. That's just how it is. So, and you might say, but yeah, just use Ace, just use Roger, make it work. But like, not every team, not every content will allow you to waste so many spots and then have 2 flex spots to handle all the rest you need. Like, that's not going to happen all the time. That's just how it is. Finally, we have some potential versus and duo stuff. If we talk about versus first, like we need some versus resurgence because like -3 versus doesn't help a lot. Take this for example. You need to use 10 orbs, and like Luffy's doesn't help with getting orbs, so it's still pretty random. And then the effects you get from versus effects are just not that strong, and the strongest versus effects just don't have synergy with Luffy. So yeah, the versus thing is a bit like, yeah, just forget about that for now. Maybe if we get better versus units. Swap is pretty cool though. I highlighted a few here, like Kin Law again, as said. Not the best synergy, but the super swap is pretty cool. And the coolest thing with Kid and Law is for like treasure map for vehicles and such. We can actually maybe make use of them now, since you get -5 in treasure map. Add -3 from Luffy, and they'll be ready right away. So we can get them into the duo form to get their duo special, which is really strong, and as you ignore normal attacks only. So that could have some use in treasure map and such, pretty cool. Sorosanya as well, don't think they have the best synergy with Luffy, but obviously a strong unit in general. They are one of those units who can, with a super swap and a special, can handle everything in a treasure map miniboss, for example. And I put Moria Perona here, but really it's more like Sugar Doffy, which I don't have, but they have a pretty solid kit, but still not the best synergy with Luffy. That's like the tail with Luffy, not the best synergy in general. So yeah, I do think it will be a bit rough, but still a very strong unit on paper, and will probably age decently well, I'd imagine. If we go back to the tavern and finish up with Luffy's PvP kits. And I usually don't spend as much on these because I'm just not as interested in PvP. That's just how it is. But yeah, I do think Luffy will fit into the established in team, since that's powerhouse driven focused, and obviously Luffy isn't driven, but he's powerhouse, so he fits in there. And he might open up more combinations in the future, like bringing in Cerebral and stuff maybe, since all of his buffs are either int or for the whole team, so he isn't class restricted like most int units are, so that's cool. The only thing he lacks basically is HP. He has everything else you could potentially want, so that's very cool, very strong ability. Special has really high CT, but it's very interesting. Gives attack up first, which is good, so he does more damage with his special. And he hits large range for 5 times damage, which is strong, of course. And then we have the new ability where he can hit 2 free spirit class enemies with high special CT out. They get knocked out basically. 100% chance of forced out. And people are hyping this a lot. I don't know if I'm as hyped as well. Like the way I've heard about it is that the way I like it to work is like Roar or Whirlwind in Pokemon, where you swap them with benched units maybe. That could be really disruptive and cool. But it sounds more like this is a variation of Bind. Like, you know, Bind, you basically can't do anything, like you don't really exist on the field. And this is the same, you're basically blanked out and not visible. So, and the thing is that, yeah, they can't do anything for 10 seconds, but that's the same thing with Bind. So, yeah, sure, you can stack Bind and this, but I've never felt like Bind has been game breaking, like super annoying for sure. But game breaking, no. So, yeah, I'm not sure how broken this will be. Like, it's a strong unit, but I'm not sure if it tips the scales for int. Like, the main advantage of forced out compared to Bind is that nothing resists this yet. So that would be helpful. Like Bind, a lot of stuff do inherently resist it. So eventually stuff will resist this as well, but that's just the reality of power creep. Awaits half stats, like soon half stats will be worthless with all of this. But yeah, as for the GP stats, Psy Int Powerhouse Fighter Cerebral Booster is really cool that it boosts so many classes, easier to build with. Burst, more like Roger than Gear 5. Roger also wanted you to take damage, which is easier to face. And more fun to use, I'd say. Like, I feel like Gear 5 is very annoying to face. I feel like this will be easier to face. I saw that Muffin's calc that optimally this does more damage than Gear 5 Luffy optimally. So yeah, we have to deal with this now. But I think I'd rather face this than Gear 5 due to the requirements. And yeah, he forces out 3 free spirit enemies. So this is just evil, basically, if you face a free spirit team. You can face out 2 with the special and then 3 with the burst. And apparently if 5 units are forced out, it brings in the subs. I don't know what happens with the other units, like are they not coming back after? I don't know. But yeah, it basically can make free spirit a free win, which is interesting, of course. So obviously a top tier GP leader, but yeah, it's GP after all. Not so important. I don't really care about it either. Okay. So yeah, that's the PvP. He'll probably be good, but maybe not as good as people think. That's my take on it. But yeah, that's Luffy. Tomorrow I'll continue with the Shanks and probably the Roger as well. So yeah, look forward to that. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.